So just 2 weeks ago at EVO 2025, Arc System Works finally let people get their hands on Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. And dear lord, this game looks so good, I just need it in my hands. Luckily, I only have to wait until September 5th, but until then, we just got a bunch of footage to speculate on. Especially the 6 characters that were in the demo and also are going to be in the beta. We got Slayer teleport dashes with Dr. Doom, some crazy set play coming out, which literally just looks like Alucard from BlazBlue with Storm. You got some crazy 8-way air dash grabbing with Miss Marvel. But the one I'm really hyped about, the one that's got my blood boiling, is Star-Lord. Now, if you know me, you know I already love to play, fast-paced, mobile, mix-heavy, pixie-type characters. We're talking Chip Zaneth. We're talking Seox. We're talking Yosuke Hanamura. We're talking Seth. I love them all. Just being able to just rush in and throw out a bunch of random stuff to try to make an opening or try to make a block string happen is honestly, it's awesome. It's therapeutic for me. So, seeing Star-Lord in the reveal, it had already had some stuff reminiscent of that. Of course, he's got the jet boots, so I know he was going to fly, but dude, they cooked. That's all I'm saying. They cooked. 8-way air dash. No recovery off a lot of the flight moves. Okay, we got crazy high-low mix-ups. And we got actual good projectiles on one of these types of characters. That's insane. That's insane. Take my money. Take my money. Oh, Lord. Now, the characters I mentioned before, some of them do have projectiles. You have the Demon's Gate coming out with Seox, which is pretty nice for Oki. And, of course, you got the kunai throw coming out from Yosuke, which got nerfed from P4 to BB just saying. And, of course, the amount of just shadow orbs that you can just pull out with Seth. Bro can go crazy with them. That's all I'm saying. But Star-Lord's a whole nother demon. Combo extensions, pressure, zoning, anti-airs, you name it, bro's got it. So, honestly, the elemental guns, the main way we are getting a lot of these projectiles, are cooking. And honestly, seeing their portrayal in Marvel Tokon, and more so preparing for this game, I'm trying to play a lot of Marvel games that have come out in recent years, including the 2021 Guardians of the Galaxy game, where the element guns are also present. And it made me think, why don't we see the element guns more? We never saw them in the MCU. We never saw them in Marvel Rivals. We never saw them in a lot of big adaptations of Star-Lord. So, what are the element guns? Where do they come from? Where do they go? But most importantly, why are they going to make Star-Lord this insane demon, the mix between a speedy rushdown and crazy zoning set play? Well, today, I'm going to answer all those questions. So sit back, relax, and come and get your love. Because we're heading straight into starting off with the history of the element guns. Little tricky, mainly because the actual origin story of Star-Lord himself is pretty muddied up between 2 different origin stories. The one that has become canon came from the 2013 run of Guardians of the Galaxy, mainly the prequel issue. In this one, we see the King of Spartax, Jason, crash landing on Earth right in front of Meredith Quill's house. From there, they both work to try to fix the ship after some differences beforehand, and while they're spending a lot of that time together alone, secluded from society, they're just getting a little personal, a little romantic, getting chill. And then a baby happened, so you already know Jason's got a dip. Bro does not want any of that mess. Well, mainly he's got to go back, of course, to rule Spartax. They're in a war right now, so he's got to take care of that. But he does leave behind his element gun. Keyword, the one gun. I'm just going to say that right now. The one gun with Meredith. Now, 10 years later, Peter Quill's become a nice little 10-year-old, and some Badoon soldiers just decide to give him some trauma, show up to his house, wanting to end the Spartax bloodline. They kill Meredith in the process, and Peter's trying to defend himself, because obviously there's these 2 aliens trying to kill him. I wouldn't want that either. And he just stumbles upon the element gun that was left behind. It later becomes the only thing of himself to survive the attack on the house, which, it was just kind of completely destroyed. It flew an alien ship in there. It's unfortunate, but hey, he lived, and now he's in space, so we're good. The other origin story that existed beforehand was actually from Star-Lord's first appearance back in 1975 in Marvel Preview 4. Here, Peter Quill is part of a space program, meets the Master of the Sun. He's given the element guns and predestined title for him of Star-Lord, meant to protect the cosmos. And of course, he gets the 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth with the element guns right off the bat. Now, later on, this is retconned to be false memories given to Peter by the element guns themselves in the 2020 run of Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, over time, there are a lot of modifications that Peter makes to the element guns, mainly by making them look more like the quad blasters from the MCU, and building an entirely second element gun. That's why we see 2 now instead of 1. He just built a second one, even though it was a unique weapon that only could be made for Jason. I don't know. Moving on. Either way, there are names for these guns, being Claris and Terry Bogard. Okay. You're appearing in too many places. You gotta calm down, buddy. You gotta calm down. Okay, we're okay. Now, the guns aren't really with Quill anymore. You see, later on the 2020 run, one of the guns were just straight up destroyed. The other one got imbued with a god's energy as an energy source, made them a lot more powerful. But then that one singular element gun just disintegrates in Peter Quill's hand in the 2023 run after overuse. Peter's just like, it's gonna happen. GG's. But yeah, you can kind of see that there is a start, there's an evolution, there's a finish. And over time too, these elements do get changed. Water gets replaced by ice because shooting water, what is that going to do? And earth does get swapped with lightning or plasma sometimes, as is popular, you'll see in later iterations, like in the Guardians of the Galaxy game from Square Enix. But it's still cool that he gets 4 elements because, you can mix and match, especially because he got 2 guns. It makes Peter Quill adaptable. So with all of this versatility, why don't we see the element guns more? Well, that's because of the Hell, what's the matter with you? Yeah, you see what I did there? Just to make sure I didn't get flagged for any copyright strike or anything, even though I'm a small little baby boy YouTuber. I decided to do my own cover of Come and Get Your Love. And if you want to hear the full copy, I'll release it at 50 likes. And for 100 likes, I'll release the original version. This is actually a re-recorded version because the entire video I accidentally recorded earlier on my internal laptop mic, which is dog doo-doo, which means it peaks and sounds really bad, but it's also really funny. So that's at 100 likes, you'll get the original unedited recording. But okay, back to the content. A big part of Star-Lord's legacy nowadays is his portrayal in the MCU. This is what popularized him, this is what put him in the limelight, and this is what a lot of his portrayals in later comics is mainly adapted on now. However, when adapted to the MCU in the first place, Peter Quill wasn't given his element gun, but rather a new weapon called the quad blasters. Well, I say new, but as you'll find out later, it's one and the same, just under a different name. These guns are basically a stripped down version of the element guns, just having a standard sci-fi gun barrage of bullets with a plasma-like option for a hit stun if he so chooses. Now, James Gunn was asked about why the element guns were omitted from the movies on Twitter a few years after release, and he said in response, and I quote, "An audience can only take so much new science fiction explained to them in a 2-hour film. Elegance is always my #1 priority in storytelling, and the element guns, which I love in the comics, would add one new weird thing too many." Now, okay, I see where he's coming from. There's a lot of stuff that gets introduced in these movies, especially because you gotta remember cosmic part of the Marvel Universe is very, very complicated and very important to the entire Marvel mythos. And this was the first, real look in the MCU, and a lot of people's first real look if they don't read the comics, especially the cosmic comics, because at the time, cosmic ones weren't really performing like crazy. So, yeah, introducing stuff like Xandar, setting up Nova, Ronan the Accuser. I don't know why we killed him off. He could have done crazy stuff for Annihilation, just saying, but yeah. There was a lot of stuff going on, so I can see why we wanted to just junk the element guns, because they wouldn't really serve the story and might have had too much of a spotlight being like, oh, I can shoot out earth stuff, or I can shoot out fire, or this or that. So, okay, I understand. It wasn't right for that medium. That's why I like how the Square Enix Guardians of the Galaxy game did use them, because it feels like the element guns were good for that medium. In the game, you get ice, you get lightning, you get wind, and you get fire, and they're used both inside and outside of combat. You can freeze enemies, you can shock them for hit stun, as I've said before in the movies, you can push them back or pull them forward with the wind, you can set them on fire, and they also help, in explorations and puzzles, freezing geysers, or being able to just, electrocute stuff, give some power, push and pull objects, or of course burn stuff, burn ice walls, all of that stuff. Very good to use for the element guns that have them as this gameplay mechanic that you can use throughout the game and also just express yourself in combat. This is honestly really fun to see, and that's further expanded on in Marvel Tokon, as we see a very similar thing here. But of course, now we gotta talk about
Peter Quill is 最強 Understand?
So after all the history we've seen of the element guns and why they were omitted in the MCU and how the 2021 game used them to their advantage, how are they actually playing in Marvel Tokon? Of course, the real meat and potatoes of why we're all here for this YouTube video. Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's get into it. But before I do want to point out that Star-Lord does have a move in the game called Quad Blasters. As I said before, that Quad Blasters are actually another alias given to the element guns. And here we see just a standard barrage of bullets once again coming out, which I think is really nice. It's a good zoning option, especially because you have to reload the guns when you use the elements. So you can use this or assist in the downtime, which is really nice for Peter to keep himself in advantage. And of course, just have another easy zoning option. This is also something similar we see in Marvel Rivals. Just want to point this out real quick. In Marvel Rivals, it's this standard barrage of bullets again, but it's actually called the Element Gun Fire, which again solidifies that this is a one and the same type of weapon. But okay, back to Marvel Tokon and the elements themselves. Finally here to introduce them. We got 4 elements coming out here. And you can press the unique button plus any direction to switch them out, and press the unique button just 5U to actually do the attack. Now the 4 elements here we have are fire, ice, light, and earth. Now fire is pretty self-explanatory. It's a huge, giant fireball. Slowly moves, allows yourself to keep up pressure, keep the opponent blocked. You can mix, try to pincer with it too. Very nice. It moves at a slow pace. Really good in neutral. Really good to get you in. Imagine like Fatal Fury type projectiles. That's literally what we got here. Now next up we have ice, which if you can imagine like the cone spray shape of a flamethrower, just replace it with ice. That's the ice element. A good amount of people have already compared this to Kokonoe's ice gun from BlazBlue. You just don't get a minigun coming in the end to spray your opponent with a bunch of chip damage. But if you've played her, you already know the move. And I imagine it could be used under the same circumstances. You can freeze your opponent. You're going to be able to put an assist after. Of course, you can use this in the air too. Going to be really good to keep combos up with assists, especially because you can combo into it. I know that. Of course, you can freeze your opponent too, so you can keep your advantage up, and you can also use it as a nice little break check against your opponent. Rushing in, just freeze them. Boom! Boom! And then we have light. What's light, you ask? Well, it's a full screen beam. I mean, that's it. It's a full screen beam. Very simple. Now, because of the amount of reach this option has, it is going to be the main zoning option for Star-Lord, more so than the quad blasters. Of course, it's being able to use full screen, so if you need to make some distance against your opponent, you're going to be able to use the light option, try to get an assist in and swap into that, while using the light gun coming out from Star-Lord could also be really strong. But lastly, we have Earth, which is honestly the more fleshed out of the four, mainly because there's a lot more happening here. It features a shield being brought up, and Peter can either shoot right in front of him with some defense, or he can angle it behind him on the floor to work as a nice anti-air. Which, obviously, holy peak. Anti-air option with defense, or you can shoot right in front of you. You know what we got here, ladies and gentlemen? We got a turtler. Yeah, I've already said with the jet boots and, the recovery after a lot of his flight moves, we already got a crazy mobile fighter, but just imagine, just sit down with me and imagine this set play, okay? Here we go. Round start. Fireball. Try to make some magic happen, try to pincer them while the fireball is right in front of their face, try to flip over them, try to set up some high-lows, start to make some magic happen. Alright, maybe after a while, you're full screen against your opponent. Boom! Get your light beam out there after the reload, especially because, again, you're full screen. Whoa! Wait a minute here. They're trying to run in. Call an assist, change the element, reload, ice. Stop them, get in with your mix. Now, rewind a little bit. Let's say instead of running straight forward, they take to the skies. They fly. Try to get your anti-air assist out there, reload, get to Earth, and get that anti-air out there. Boom! Look at that. The amount of potential. There's honestly so many more things I can talk about with these elements, especially because you got to remember this. Boys and girls. He can do all this stuff in the air, too. We haven't seen what he can do with these elements in the air, but I imagine it's going to be very similar, and if that's the case, that is going to be very terrifying. Imagine being able to shield and shoot under you. What is that, an anti-ground? I don't know, I'm making stuff out on top of my head, but honestly, it's great to see this, very fleshed out shooting / zoner type of character that's also just super flexible, mobile, rushdown heavy. It's honestly amazing. I cannot wait for the September 5th to 7th weekend because I'm going to have so much fun dissecting this man. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed this video. Talked about where the element guns came from, where they went, and how they are so back right now with Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. It really is nice seeing Marvel Tokon really trying to shake up the FGC, especially seeing how they're handling Star-Lord with the amount of yin and yang this guy has between staying back and rushing in. It's honestly amazing. And I might make another video talking about that yin and yang a little more. So comment down below if you want to see that, or a video about any of the other fighters. I want to do more Marvel Tokon content. So if you have something you want to see from me, make sure to let me know. I will be streaming the Marvel Tokon beta if I do get a code. That'll be the entirety of the beta from September 5th to the 7th. So make sure you tune in at twitch.tv/ninstar123 if you want to see that. But either way, it's all the time I got. So I hope you have a good rest of your day or your evening. And I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces!